All right, hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to solve for missing angles of triangles. So yesterday we looked at how to solve for missing sides. Solving for missing angles, very similar. All right, so I've summarized this in, wrong pointer. Summarized it really with 3 steps, even though I said 1, 2, 2. Summarize it with 3 steps. We're going to start as we did with our work yesterday. We're going to start by thinking about what ratio applies. So that's why it's so useful to know, to clearly and quickly know sine, cosine, and tangent. I want to think which trig ratio applies to this problem. So if I'm trying to find the angle x, I've got the side 59 and 89. So by now I can do this a little quicker. I know that this side is my opposite side and this side is my hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse, that is sine. So I can set up the following ratio. The sine of angle x, which I don't know how large it is going to be 59/89. All right. Now remember, the sine ratios are set in stone. So I basically have to work backwards, find a way to see what angle would give me this ratio, 59/89. I'm not even going to bother to change 59/89 to a decimal though. All right. So I wanted to mention something to you guys about these functions. The sine function is really an input-output type of function. All right. So the input of sine, cosine, and tangent is always an angle, right? So the input is always an angle. And this guy, the output, is always the ratio, right? So what I'm going to introduce to you is this new function called the inverse, all right? So right here, you take the inverse. Why? Why do you need an inverse? Because you're doing things backwards. You are missing the input, but you know the output. So we need to use an inverse function. And it works in a very simple way. All you do is you utilize the inverse function. So sine inverse, that's what this little superscript of -1 means, of the ratio, which is 59/89, will give me the input, which is the angle. All right. And these problems actually, for some people actually think these problems end up being easier than the ones where you find side lengths. All right. Because it's as simple as typing it into my calculator. The inverse sine of 59/89. It says, well, the perfect angle to make that work is 41.5 degrees. So 41.5 degrees. Make sure you are in degree mode. 41.5 degrees equals x. So that is how simple that type of problem actually is. All right, to recap, I set up my ratio, sine of x equals 59/89. I chose sine because I had opposite and hypotenuse. All right, and then I simply used my inverse sine function. You would expect, if you would have used cosine, you would use an inverse cosine function. If you use tangent, it's an inverse tangent function. And all that these functions do is they take the output and in turn they give us the input. All right, so that is how that works. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email.